human rights, social movements is not unique to a single country. This happened in Brazil, this happened in Uruguay, in Argentina, throughout in Bolivia. In Bolivia there is a very interesting confluence with the indigenous peoples' movements that are very important. In each country the configuration is different according to the reality, but these are common. In many of these countries you have governments that on the issue of LGBT rights are progressive, also because there are people in the government who had fought together with LGBT people on other social struggles. The challenges, some countries are still, because in some countries the influence of the church is still very strong, and in other countries the governments, the people in government themselves are very narrow-minded. And of course the huge issue is not LGBT rights, the huge issue is abortion. All the progress we have made on LGBT rights, we have made no progress at all on abortion. So this is it's very different, I know, from the reality in India, but this is how it is for us. I feel that in the West, particularly, there is a whole, the issue of identity. No, they can spend hours discussing what is my identity, and if I am this and I am, and their identities are usually very long, no, and all this. And honestly, for us, this has not been very much important. I mean, and I think this origin of the homosexual liberation, we always had it. Most of us had it very clear that it was about sexuality. And it was about changing the way that sexuality was seen in our society, which will benefit us, but also everybody else. And we have always been able to talk not only about my reality as a lesbian or a bisexual woman, but also all, for instance, reproductive health issues. We have not been able to avoid them, because in my society, women die because of unsafe abortions. So, and I cannot fail to link the restrictions to my sexuality as a lesbian or a bisexual woman to the restrictions to the sexuality of my straight sisters who are dying. And I will not even be taken seriously as an activist if I don't make these connections. In Uruguay, Uruguay now is the only Latin American country having a decent abortion law. It allows abortion in the first 3 months. It has a requirement that the activists were not happy with, but compared to the reality of others, that you have to go to the hospital and you have to have a couple of sessions of counseling. So they explain to you the risk. Some might try to dissuade you, but if you say no, you have all the right in the world to have your abortion done. It's the only country in the entire region. And Mexico City, only city. And see what happens with law. In Mexico City, they got their abortion law first 3 months legal. Then all the states in Mexico, one after the other, began passing laws making abortion illegal under all circumstances. So this is the problem, no? That sometimes you can have a state law that is very progressive and it backfires for the rest of the country. So now there is a wonderful group in Mexico. What they do is a group of young people, they are all under 30. What they do is that they fundraise and they cover the cost of women from other states to come to the capital and to have the abortion done there. You have to fight the hospital, the doctors will not do it. It's impossible for women to really get an abortion in a public, of course, and here comes the class issue, no? Like in all countries with these laws, if you can pay for it, you do it safely and that's it. But that's not what we care about. What we care about is the majority of women cannot pay, should not pay. And they are the ones going to the public hospitals and they are the ones dying. The LGBT movements in Argentina and in Latin America in general, like everywhere else, began with the privilege. Began with the people who had the class privilege enough to be able to be out and say, I'm lesbian and gay. This changed radically when the transgender people came. Because I think, again, everywhere in the world, being trans, even if you are from a middle class background, being trans brings you down the social scale, because you lose whatever gender privileges you have, and you have to, at least in our countries, now this has changed wonderfully with the new laws, but before the only alternative was sex work in the streets, not even sex work in a nice, sex work in the street. So when the transgender people joined the movement and they began to demand their rights, there was also this huge class shock in most of the countries, which I think was really for the best. Then this began to slowly open, but the truth is that for many years the movements were middle class and upper middle class dominated, and there had been efforts, because these people were middle class and upper class, but also with a left wing mentality. Today it's really very diverse. You see in Argentina, but also in other countries, many LGBT activists who are not middle class and who are also very active in the left and in social movements, and they bring together these issues in a very clear way, and actually I would say they are the majority now. It's very interesting because now that the movements are large, you have the class wars inside the movement. So you have people having very conflicting political views, even though they are in the same LGBT movement, which was not the case, because when you are fighting for your survival, you don't. But once you have something, so your survival as an identity group, then everybody is very clear, we want anti-discrimination, this, that. When you have all that, then is when your real issues come. And the priorities of those who are not middle or upper class are very different from the priorities of the others. Now, how this happened, I think that of course the trans people, they changed the rules, but it was also, I think the working with the other social movements helped, because sometimes some of the LGBT middle class activists would go to talk about their issues to groups that were socially minded, and this group will ask difficult questions. Like they will say, how many of you went to university? All of you. Where are the lesbians and the gays who have not been to university? Why are they not in your groups? So it actually came from the allies, this difficult, and then people were like, yes, we are doing something wrong. So the exposure to other social movements really helped a lot. And of course the very clear idea that if you don't come together with these other social movements, your issues are lost. So it was, they had to open, there had to be this broadening up. During the times of dictatorships, there were no social movements at all. Our dictatorships were so strong, where it was impossible any kind of social organizing. And in some countries, these dictatorships came in the early 70s when the feminist movements had just begun. And back then it was not LGBT rights, which is also an interesting passage. It was called homosexual liberation, which is quite a different thing. This didn't come back, but in the early 70s, I was a child, so I wasn't involved in that, but the people who started the movements throughout Latin America, they were called homosexual liberation. And they were just beginning, and all this was completely cut off. Some people were killed, some people had to leave the region, they had to move elsewhere, and there was nothing for a period that went from, in average, 10 years, in some countries more. So it was a huge setback. But on the other side, the people who had gone abroad, they got many ideas, because they were in Mexico, where Mexico never had a dictatorship. So in Mexico, all these things were still growing. So they were there. They were in France. So they got, and then when they came back with all this knowledge and with all this experience. So in a way, it helped. Now the passage from an authoritarian language is something that we are still struggling with. Still in the way we all speak, you can see it's horrible, because you can really see in Spanish when we speak our language, you can see the strong the marks of militarism. You can still see it there. You can see it in the way we relate politically with each other. No? Most of our parties are still very authoritarian inside. So I think you need at least 3-4 generations. Sometimes I have seen changes in young people, in the people in my country who were born in democracy. They are so different from me, and I'm so happy about that. Any message of hatred doesn't go well in societies that have been through military dictatorships and torture and killings. Our message was a message of love. Our message was, we are families, we love each other, what is the crime? Which also in Latin cultures is something that works very well. Because Latin cultures, anything having to do with life, love, dance, we like. And the message of the LGBT movement was always, there is nothing, we have nothing to do with this. We don't hate anybody, we don't even hate the church. We just love each other, we want to live together. Some of us want to have children. What's wrong with that? And these people really said, of course. And then you would see the Catholic soul face. You will see the people in our demonstrations smiling, babies, even the families were very supportive. Mothers, old grandmothers supporting their kids. All this atmosphere of love, and on the other side, people didn't support them. It was only a fringe. And we really got to create a common sense, which I think is very, very important. What do you make a society believe as common sense? Common sense is not to be too extremist about this, because they don't harm anybody. So this was the strategy.